This is video 3 for book 2 for all of the instruments. I need you open to page number 10 in your book. And we're going to review a couple things first. In this video, we're going to be learning about dotted quarter notes, okay? But I want to review what dots do to a note to begin with, okay? So I'm not talking about staccato dots. I'm talking about dots that are on the side of the note that change the note's value. Now, the first thing we learned with dots was a dotted half note. That was a long time ago. The dot on the side of the note right here adds half the value. So the value of a half note is 2. The value means how many beats it gets. We're going to add, when we add a dot, we add half of 2, which is 1. So that's why a dotted half note gets 3 beats, okay? Now a whole note by normal, no dotted whole note, a whole note gets 4 beats. We add a dot, that means we add half of 4, which is 2. So a dotted whole note would get 6 beats. Yes, they do exist, just not that often. You have to be in some special time signatures for those to exist. Now, dotted quarter note, what we're actually going to play today. Quarter note, the value of a quarter note is 1. It gets 1 beat. We add a dot. We don't add a beat. We add half of the value. So half of 1 is a half. So it's going to get 1 1/2 beats. Okay, a dotted quarter note is going to get 1 1/2 beats. So if you think of that in note terms, when you're adding to a half note, it's like adding a quarter note to it, right? What's half of a half note? A quarter note. A whole note, add half the value of a whole note, you're adding a half note. Okay, think about that. 4 plus 2, 6. 2 plus 1, 3. We still get the same answer. We're just thinking in terms of what kinds of notes we are dealing with. Now, if we think of the quarter note terms, a quarter note, half of what kind of note is half of a quarter note? Well, that's an eighth note. We still get 1 1/2 beats. Okay, and I show you that because if you look in your book on page 10, it shows you, it's trying to show you exactly how long a dotted quarter note is. And what the book chooses to show you is that a dotted quarter note is a quarter note tied to an eighth note. Now I'm going to tell you, you're not going to see it written like this after number 38 in your book. I can think of exactly one song that has it written like that unnecessarily. What they're trying to show you is that it goes over into beat 2. It takes up part of beat 2. So a quarter note takes up all of beat 1, takes up all of this. But we add a dot to it. We're also adding the first half of beat 2. Look how long a dotted quarter note is. Look how many eighth notes it gets. 2 eighth notes from beat 1 and a third eighth note from beat 2. The first half of beat 2. So when does this note happen? It happens on the te of 2. So a dotted quarter note, again, you're not going to see it written like this. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that and make it this. And now this is an eighth note, still by itself. So a dotted quarter note, look how long it is. 1 te 2. All of beat 1, that's beat 1, and the first half of beat 2. It takes up all of that stuff. All of that. All of beat 1 and the first half of 2. And then what's left? The te of 2. Now I've written it out normally on the second half. So this note right here gets all of beat 3 and the first half of beat 4. So a dotted quarter note gets 3 eighth notes. That's very important to remember because when you've got your eighth notes going on in your metronome, how many clicks is the dotted quarter note going to get? It's going to get 3 clicks, okay? So here's your metronome clicking eighth notes. The speed I've chosen is 63. So listen to a dotted quarter note. I'm going to play on open D. 1 te 2 te. That's when that note happens. 1 te 2 te. 3 te 4 te. 1 te 2 te. 3 te 4 te. Okay, play that, or just watch me play it. Listen to the clicks. Follow along there. 1 te 2 te. 3 te 4 te. Click click click. Click click click. 1 te 2. Now here's the trick with dotted quarter eighth notes. Not making that eighth note stick out really bad. So just like when you had dotted half note, quarter note, you've got to do slow and heavy, fast and light. Slow and heavy, fast and light, okay? Because you don't want this. Don't do this. Listen to this. We don't want that, okay? Slow and heavy. 1, 2, 2. Here's what I would like for you to try to do. Because an eighth note, what we'd really like for an eighth note to get is half of a bow. We use a whole bow for a quarter note. So let's compromise. For a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note like that, yes, let's just use 3/4 of a bow for the dotted quarter note and then 3/4 the bow for the eighth note. Yeah, that makes it a little extra slow for the dotted quarter note, but you've played long enough now. You can play slow, but slow enough bows. You should be able to get a good tone on a slow bow. So 3/4 of a bow for each one. And then you go slow and heavy, fast and light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, I want you to play with me, just this rhythm. And slow and heavy, fast and light. 1, and open D, sorry. 1, right, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, slow and heavy, fast and light. Slow and heavy down bow, fast and light. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, look at number 37 in your book on page 10. Again, the first measure, I chose to write it with the slur like I had up here a while ago. You're going to see in that first measure, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. You're only going to hear and play 4 because the first 2 are tied together. The first note gets all of count 1 and the first half of count 2. Okay, shadow bow 37. And 1, shadow bow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, if you notice, measure 1 and measure 3 are the exact same thing. They look totally different because I chose to write it that kind of weird way. Okay, play now 37, open D, and 1, right, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? If you're ready, go ahead and go on to 38 with me. At 38, again, they have chosen to use a tie for the first one, the first note. You see 3 Ds there. You're only going to hear and play 2. Why? Because the first 2 are tied together. Just trying to remind you how we came up with a dotted quarter note, okay? Shadow bow 38. 1, shadow bow, 1, 2. Back to F sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, play that with me if you're ready. If you're not, pause the video, shadow bow as much, or practice as much as you need to. 38. 1, 2, right, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, okay? If you didn't get that right, remember that if that first measure confused you, the first 2 notes are tied together. There's only 2 Ds to play there. The first 2 are tied together. They act as one note. If you're ready, go on to 39, shadow bow 39. Just be careful of the last measure. We're not going to do the repeat. Just be careful of the last measure. You're going to want to do a different rhythm there. Just trust me on that. Watch it. It's run pony. Shadow bow 39. No repeat. And 1, 2, right, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now long. 3, rest. You very likely wanted to go C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, D. Why? Because the rhythm is the same in measure 1 and 3, but it's not the same in measure 2 and 4. Okay, play with me. Remember your first note, the first 2 notes. 1, 2, 2, right on that te. Slow and heavy, fast and light. 3/4 for bow for each one of those notes. 1, 2, 2. Okay, be right on that te, and don't make the te stick out. 39, no repeat. Beginning with me. 1, 2, right, go. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, long. Yes, 10. And again, we're not doing the repeat. Okay, so practice those. In the next video, we'll finish up this page. Okay, so practice, make sure, be very accurate with your rhythms. 3 for a dotted